virtue of the fact that we're dealing with government, we deal with a lot of issues that private sector doesn't deal with. So governments primarily lack funding, and from a lack of funding, you have things like infrastructure, right? The pipes that are under the ground, the valves, the pumps that move water from one place to the other, and then also the assets within the treatment plants. Critical infrastructure is something you hear a lot in the news. People really don't understand what that term means, but aging infrastructure is one of the biggest issues that the industry is going to be faced with over time, and that includes everything from treatment to water distribution. Other problems that they have are regulatory issues, making sure that the water that they distribute to the consumers are safe and reliable and sustainable and carefully sourced, and that leads to the third most critical issue is water itself. It's a finite resource that we have to take care of. We have to make sure we're good stewards of water. It's critical to life, it's critical to business. Water scarcity and water contamination is the third big critical issue of the industry.
Considering the type of infrastructure that we're talking about, the ability that up until today HMIs have been able to bring in is data from the field or data from the plant into one consolidated room. So having visibility of what is out there in one place obviously reduces the amount of time that operators need to react to activities and react to issues in the field. So again, putting all that information in one place is I would say the single fundamental value that exists today. Having said that, today the technology that is behind HMI, the technology that is behind automation and control is evolving. So there are new ways of approaching that gathering of all that data into one central place that allows all these operators to move from a reactive approach, which is what they've been having up until now, to a more proactive take on that infrastructure. So those are, again, I think that technology has been on for many years. It hasn't stopped evolving, and it will continue evolving in the near future.
For me, we have to impress upon the industry that when there are issues within the water industry, you can't wait until the last minute to solve the issue. When you run out of water, you're out of water, and that's a crisis, right? You can't deal with crisis when the crisis happens, because you just can't manufacture water. That's a very big problem, a very real problem in a lot of municipalities. So I think the conversation must be had with the water segment on all levels, from the consulting level all the way down to the operator in the control room, that we need to try to be better every day. We need to continuously improve and continuously be stewards of what we do and the services that we provide to the industry. We have to instill upon, even at the lowest level of operations, that we are dealing with the world's most precious resource, and we have to do it in a manner that's sustainable, reliable, and efficient. That gets that low-cost argument out of there.
Yeah, there is, I think, also a fundamental fact from that big picture to day to day. And well, there are actually two issues. I think the first one is every company sees value in a different way because of the nature of the business. Every municipality is different, every city is different. So the value needs to be brought up in a deep conversation with the customer to understand what their specific issues. What I'm trying to say is that there is no silver bullet that you can put out there that is going to solve all the problems for everybody. That's the first thing. The second very fundamental thing is that utilities, they've been investing all these years, and they have their own IT infrastructure, they have their communications infrastructure, they have their vision. So making sure that whatever comes next can be fed by everything that already exists, I think is another really important point to bring value to those investments. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to rip something off to bring something new. All the contrary, all that investment needs to be reused and reborn, if you will. So again, bringing all that into new life, giving it new life and new functionality, I would say is what is going to drive that value for those specific problems that have been discussed deeply with the customer, each individual customer.
Right, and something that's fundamental to the industry, because we are dealing with other people's money, fundamentally. There's no concept of return on investment, and I think that's a problem as well. When John Glenn says the scariest thing about going into space was understanding that the rocket was built on below bid, was the scariest part about the whole proposition. When you're spending taxpayer money, there's no personal pain associated with cost. So that's we have to change that messaging too, and develop the conversation about return on investment and doing things efficiently. In context with government, that's sometimes a stretch. To address regulatory concerns and to address the efficiency by which we do things, we must have data. And Schneider Electric Solutions are instrumental in bringing raw data from the equipment and the assets in the field. That's where all data resides. Everything that we do and everything that we know comes from those sensors. Now, aggregating that information and aggregating that data into a centralized location for the purposes of becoming better about how we do business is where you start adding that raw data with contextualized data and building information out of that. And then from that information layer, we can begin to make better decisions on, for example, are we pumping water better today than we did yesterday? And that's not necessarily by virtue of the fact that we're pumping it faster, but are we pumping it more efficiently or more energy efficiently? It's that aggregation and collection of data for the purposes of delivering upon intelligence that enables our customers to improve.
Those closed loop solutions that you were referring to in a way is, from a Schneider Electric perspective, we look at that conversation with a customer, what the problem is, and try to identify very specific processes that can be addressed from our side. We don't pretend to do everything, because nobody can do that. We pretend to, what we do is help companies identify what are the key issues and provide an end-to-end solution to that problem. That means is coming from the field, all those assets coming from with the data, how do you collect all that data, how do you store all that data, how do you visualize it, and then how do you act on that for any specific problem that has been determined together with the customer. So we do have those point solutions or point software and products for a specific issue, but I think the value that we bring is that we can work with the customer in a journey to make sure that we're not providing just a solution for today, but a solution that can grow, because problems, you solve one, another one will come. So what do you do next to make sure that this is a journey, not just a patch on a pipe that is leaking? No pun intended.